Hello and welcome to another week of the Grammar Workshop. So this week we will be covering the advanced passive voice. And a quick example is, she will be loved. So let's begin. So the passive voice, perhaps you already know something about the passive voice. So before we learn some new things, we'll begin with a quick review of what you may already know. Let's review the basic tenses. Passive is used when we want to talk about an action, but we are not so interested in who performs this action. It's more about the situation or what happens as a result of the action. So we're commenting from a more abstract point of view. Here we have some examples. So the present simple passive, robbers are never sentenced to life imprisonment. Present continuous passive, the game is being played at the moment. Present perfect passive, my mobile phone has been stolen. Past simple passive, Kate was invited to a party yesterday. Past continuous passive, the computer was being fixed when the light went off. Past perfect passive, he had to use public transport because his car had been stolen, and they probably didn't get life imprisonment. And the last one, future simple passive, the report will be finished tomorrow. So, although it may sound complex with the different grammatical tenses, these are all examples that you should already be familiar with. So, here's one. The movie has been watched for an hour. Now notice how being has been crossed out. The movie has been watched for an hour. The cake has been eaten since morning. So, of course, this is an example of the perfect continuous passive. Now, been and being, they're both grammatically correct, but being here doesn't sound good, so we tend to instead use been. So, for that reason, being is usually omitted. This is not a very common tense, but obviously important to know in any case. So, the perfect continuous passive is the same as the perfect passive. Okay, so Rome was not built in one day, the famous expression, to work hard slowly at what you want to achieve.
Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day.
The project plan has not been adopted yet. So these, of course, are negatives. We can see the not in each instance. Not follows the auxiliary. So we can see here Rome was not. The project plan has not. If there are several auxiliaries, then follow the first one. So nice and easy. If there are a lot of them, just pick the first one. That's a nice rule to learn. Is he accused of stealing the money? Has the party been organized by students? So of course, these are examples of questions. So we have the question word at the beginning, we have the question mark at the end. Of course, this is a question. So the first auxiliary moves to the beginning. Is or has. Indirect objects. When active verbs have both direct and indirect objects, either can be used as a subject with a passive verb. So this might sound complex, but let's see it in an example. So the direct, the action is performed to it. Indirect, action is performed for it. So Ben gave some of his old clothes to a shelter. Exactly. So a shelter, indirect, and direct is old clothes. His old clothes were given to a shelter. So here we can see the examples of both direct and indirect. They can, both of them can be used with a passive verb. The shelter was given a box of old clothes. So many different ways to express this. The mayor presented the heroes with a key to the city. So we can see a superhero here, obviously done some good work. The heroes were presented with a key to the city. And a key to the city was presented to the heroes. So here is a more indirect way of saying it was presented. We are distancing ourselves a bit from the heroes in this case, and we're talking more about the situation. Was presented, were presented. My uncle told this story to me. The story was told to me by my uncle. So it's more important that the story was told rather than who told the story. That's secondary. I was told this story by my uncle. My job has become my life. This bag belongs to me. I resemble my mother. But she is loved, she is known. So, of course, verbs we don't use in passive. So there are certain verbs that we just simply don't use in the passive tense. State verbs, so for example, have, resemble, become, fit, suit, or lack. There's also some other ones. And verbs that do not take an object. This table is made of tree. This chair is made of plastic. Paper is made from tree. Juice is made from fruits. So we can see there's a light difference between of and from. Made of or made from. Now this is a very difficult one and quite advanced. Made of, the material keeps its qualities and state. So the table is made of the tree. So we can see that the table quite resembles a tree here. We can see from the picture that it's still pretty similar to a tree. So for this reason we say of. But paper made from a tree, when we hold paper we don't think this has the qualities of a tree. It's quite separated from the tree. So we say from a tree. It's very different from what it's made from. Juice is made from fruits. Again, a glass of juice is very different to the fruit itself. Made from, qualities and state of material are changed. So, as we said, paper is very different to a tree, whereas a wooden table is not as different.
Something made of gold. Something made of gold. Something made of gold.
Okay, so that concludes this week of grammar. Thanks and see you next time. Bye bye.